What's up guys, EJ here, back with another video, and it's time for another top 10 list. My top 10 films of the year 2000. I'm going to start doing all my top 10s from the 00s. So let's get straight into it. Counting down from number 10, we have High Fidelity. A very good film directed by Stephen Frears, based on the book by Nick Hornby. Of course, starring John Cusack as a record store owner who has just recently broken up with his girlfriend, played by Joelle Carter, and he tries to figure out why this sort of keeps happening to him, and he revisits all his old girlfriends, his top 5 breakups. If you love making lists like I do and you love music, this is a wonderful, funny, witty film. Just a very good cast. It was the first time sort of Jack Black really broke through. He pretty much steals every scene he's in this movie as Cusack's co-worker. And there's just other great cameos by people like Joan Cusack, of course, Cusack's sister, who appears in a lot of Cusack's films. Lisa Bonet, the girl from Roseanne, who appeared in The Big Bang Theory, Sarah Gilbert, and even Tim Robbins. I love the scene where he walks into the store and Cusack has the fantasy of beating the living shit out of him with his co-workers. It's a very funny scene. Just a very good movie. Catherine Zeta-Jones, also great as one of Cusack's former girlfriends. If you love music, and obviously most people do, this is a very funny and just a cool movie. Okay, number 9, we have The Cell, directed by Tarsem Singh. Amazing sci-fi thriller, starring Jennifer Lopez, Vince Vaughn, and Vincent D'Onofrio. Lopez sort of plays this psychiatrist who's trying to reach this young boy who's in a coma-like state, and they do it through this sort of new science where they sort of invade people's minds and their dreams. But meanwhile, Vince Vaughn is a detective who's trying to find this serial killer played by Vincent D'Onofrio, and somehow they get together, and J-Lo goes into the mind of the serial killer. Amazing visuals, the costumes sort of very bright and quirky and colorful, much like Tarsem Singh's style in films like The Fall and most recently Mirror Mirror. Just a beautiful movie. I just love the scene with the horse when it gets sort of chopped up in several pieces, and it sort of splits out and you see the inside of the horse. Stuff like that just add to the sort of weirdness of this movie. Just a great film. The Cell, number 9. Okay, number 8, we have Finding Forrester, directed by Gus Van Sant, and of course starring Sean Connery as this reclusive author who befriends a young kid who's on a basketball scholarship, played by Rob Brown, who has an interest in writing, and they become friends. It's much like a sort of Dead Poets Society, very inspirational drama based on academics. Very good supporting cast. F. Murray Abraham, Anna Paquin, and even Busta Rhymes. If you like these type of films like I do, it's a very good movie, very underrated. Really one of Sean Connery's last great performances as he's sort of, I guess, retired now. Yeah, my favorite actor. I just love this film. Finding Forrester, number 8. Okay, number 7, we have Unbreakable, of course, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. An amazing sort of supernatural superhero thriller, starring Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. Bruce Willis is a ordinary man who's cannot get injured or hurt. He somehow survives a horrific train crash. He's the only survivor, and suddenly starts to realize that he hasn't been sick in his life or ever been injured, and he sort of wonders why. And he gets approached by this strange man played by Samuel L. Jackson, a very brittle and injury-prone individual who's suffered horrific injuries his whole life, broken bones and many surgeries and so on. And much like a comic book superhero story, they are complete opposites, and it's just a very well-paced, slow burn thriller. The revelation at the end, you realize why Samuel L. Jackson is sort of approaching Bruce Willis in this way, and it's just a great film. Next to The Sixth Sense, it's probably my second favorite Shyamalan film. I put it on par with Signs. I love that movie as well. Of course, Shyamalan has gone down after these first three films. I know some people like The Village. I like The Village, but after that, the two movies he's made were pretty much crap. The Happening and Lady in the Water. Most people agree those suck, but the first three he made are all brilliant thrillers, great surprise endings. You know the drill with Shyamalan. But Unbreakable is a great movie. Okay, number 6, we have Wonder Boys, directed by Curtis Hanson, who of course directed L.A. Confidential. This is a great film starring Michael Douglas as a college professor, sort of gliding through his academic life, trying to write his second novel after his first book was a huge success. Just a very funny, quirky comedy about sort of college life. Great cast, including Tobey Maguire, Katie Holmes, Robert Downey Jr., Frances McDormand. Yeah, just a great performance by Douglas and a very funny movie. Wonder Boys, number 6. Okay, number 5, we have The Patriot. I just love this film. Directed by Roland Emmerich, and of course starring Mel Gibson as a patriot who's wants to stay out of the war between the British and America, and realizes he has to get involved once the British start advancing on his home, and he tries to protect his family. Just great battle scenes, very good cast. Heath Ledger is Gibson's sort of wild runaway son. But the person who really is great in this film is Jason Isaacs. Awesome as the villain. He's a real bastard in this film. And people like Chris Cooper and Tom Wilkinson, and a very good French actor, Checky Cario, round out a very good cast. I just love sweeping adventure war films like this based on history. I know some people didn't care for it at the time when it came out, but The Patriot's an awesome film, and I don't care about Gibson's politics. I just care about him as an actor, and he's always been a good action leading man star, so I love The Patriot. Okay, number 4, we have Traffic. Of course, the Criterion Collection edition of Steven Soderbergh's epic about the war on drugs. Just a very gritty and well-made film about drugs, told from many different angles, both sides of the border, U.S. and Mexico. A brilliant cast. Again, Michael Douglas, amazing as the new drug czar. You got people like Don Cheadle as a ATF agent, or DEA agent, sorry, and Benicio del Toro as a federale. Amazing. He won a Best Supporting Actor for his performance in this film. Catherine Zeta-Jones, great as the wife of a notorious drug dealer. Dennis Quaid, Topher Grace, and Erica Christensen as Douglas's drug-addicted teenage daughter. Whatever happened to her? I mean, She was in some good films back in the early 2000s, but I guess after Swim Fan, she sort of faded away. Sorry to all you Swim Fan fans. um, but yeah, whatever happened to her? Erica Christensen. But anyway, Traffic, great film. Soderbergh won Best Director for this movie, along with Aaron Brockovich, which I did not like, which I will go into. He had a huge year in 2000, but Traffic's a great film. Number 4. Okay, number 3, we have Ang Lee's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. My favorite martial arts film of all time. Just love this beautiful, sweeping, romantic, epic martial arts adventure with Chow Yun-fat, Michelle Yeoh, and the beautiful Zhang Zi. Amazing fight choreography by Zhang Yimou, who's gone on to direct films himself now. Yeah, just stunning. The first time I saw it, it was like the first type of martial arts film I'd seen like this. I mean, before that, I'd seen like some Bruce Lee films like Enter the Dragon and so on, and which I love. But this was the first time I'd been exposed to this sort of wire fighting style of films, and it just blew me away when I saw it, and I still love it to this day. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, number 3. Okay, number 2. You may have guessed by the music, well, at least one of the songs, and that is Almost Famous, written and directed by Cameron Crowe, loosely based on his life, about a young rock journalist who gets hired by a Rolling Stone in the early 70s, and he goes on tour with the band Stillwater, classic rock band, featuring Jason Lee as the lead singer and Billy Crudup as the moody guitar player. Just a great film. I just love this movie. Every time I see it, I sort of get a renewed sense of joy when I watch it, as corny as that is to say. When it came out, Kate Hudson, her performance blew everybody away. She should have won Best Supporting Actress, but she didn't. I believe Marcia Gay Harden won that year for... at the moment, I don't even know. Anyway, Kate Hudson, yeah. I thought she'd go on to do great things after this movie, but since then she's made pretty much just endless crappy romantic comedies. There may be a couple in there that people like, but for the most part I've hated all of them. And I mean, she comes from great pedigree, of course, Goldie Hawn's daughter and so on. But Kate Hudson, amazing in this film, along with the great cast. You've got Frances McDormand, very funny as the mother, Patrick Fugit as the young boy, Philip Seymour Hoffman, very funny as the sort of editor-in-chief of Rolling Stone, and Anna Paquin and Fairuza Balk as groupies along with Hudson. Just an amazing film, great music. It just has this great nostalgic feel to it, and it really captures that era and that musical sort of revolution, if you like. Almost Famous, just a beautiful movie. Okay, number 1, Gladiator, of course, the Best Picture winner of that year, and directed by Ridley Scott. Russell Crowe, amazing winner for Best Actor as well, as Maximus, the general turned slave, turned gladiator, who then defies an empire. I love Joaquin Phoenix's performance in this movie as well. And I'm a big fan of Connie Nielsen, who plays his sister. They sort of have a incestuous relationship in this movie. It's kind of dirty, but I just love her, and I've always liked her work. And Richard Harris, great at the beginning as the dying emperor, and just great battle scenes. The opening battle scene in the Bavarian forest with the barbarians, just amazing, and all the gladiatorial scenes are great. I know some people didn't care for this movie at the time, or thought it was too over bloated and hyped or whatever. I'm talking to you, Roger Ebert. He sort of went on a campaign against this film around Oscar time. It really sort of pissed me off. because I like Roger Ebert. I've been a big fan of his for years. But he went too far in his campaign to sort of derail this movie. I will have fighting words with anybody who says otherwise. Gladiator is a great film and now a classic. So that's my number one film of 2000. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my list, and thank you to all the people who have commented on these lists and enjoyed them so far, and send me your lists. It's just great fun doing these. I love making lists and making these videos. So stay tuned for an upcoming update this week. A very cool update I've got coming. So until then, I'll see ya.